PlayStation might be announcing their next handheld console in their upcoming June press conference. Microsoft is closing all their studios, it seems like. And also, Microsoft is wanting to put in Copilot AI into their games. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Just Because Gaming. My name is Michael.
And I'm Ray.
And thank you for joining us.
Big news in gaming world today, which we're a little behind getting out here with our podcast, of course, but this closure of 4 Bethesda studios by Xbox. Huge news in the gaming world. A lot of people disappointed in this, which is kind of understandable. It's hard to explain why they would have closed some of these studios. Like Tango Games was one, the makers of Hi-Fi Rush, their only Japanese studio, which they want to open their Japanese market. And what have they done? They closed their only Japanese studio after it made a hit game. I don't understand the business sense in that, but I'm sure there's stuff behind the scenes that we don't see. Maybe it makes sense in some way. The other ones that they've closed have been Arcane Studios. Yes, they had a big miss with Redfall. I mean, it felt like an unfinished game, but it had a lot of good bones to that game. They could have probably made it better. And then they had, but Arcane had also made, what was it, Dishonored and many other good Bethesda games that, I mean, but from what I understand, was a lot of turmoil in that studio when they were making Redfall. A lot of, I don't know, the people in the studio were not getting along. So maybe it just became an unfixable thing, and that's why they closed it. The other two, Alpha Dog Studios, is a mobile game studio. They made The Mighty Doom on mobile. I have never played that. I don't know how good it was, or maybe it was a flop of a game. I don't know. But Xbox wanting to get into the mobile market, you would think that they would probably try to maintain any mobile studios. And then Roundhouse Games, which I don't know. I'm not really that familiar with that studio, but that one was absorbed into Elder Scrolls Online, so they'll be making content in there. So not really closed, but reorganized that studio.
Yeah, no, I heard about that too, and it was weird because from what I heard about, I think it was Tango Games making Hi-Fi Rush, that Microsoft repeatedly said, and just before they closed it, they did like a press release saying that we want to have more small studios that make, these little indie gems that, are award winning and everything. And Hi-Fi Rush was an indie studio and was award winning. And I think they even put that out in a tweet, like, the little eye emoji, like looking like, and it's like, I think they even said that it's like, did we not win enough awards?
Right?
And yeah, definitely feel bad for that.
Yeah, that's the one I have the hardest time wrapping my mind around. Like, why would you close this studio? I mean, I don't know. I can't fathom it. And maybe one day they'll tell us what was going on. I'm thinking this is coming from people outside of Xbox that's up in the Microsoft part of it. They're probably not even real gamers or not gamers at all. And they're just looking at dollar signs and, hey, we can make our numbers, work if we close these studios. They're not big studios. We don't need those, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to think that might be the case, but honestly, that's probably it, is that it came down to like a financial business decision with, just budgeting analysts and things like that, where they were just looking at like what game studios produced the least, but cost a good chunk of money. And it's like, yeah, they haven't produced a lot because they haven't been around that long.
Right.
And, they're working on indie games. But again, I can't imagine a lot of these smaller studios costing as much. But I don't know, maybe they ran some sort of like cost benefit analysis and be like, well, we can't lose, some of these big studios that they just acquired, but they could let go of some of those little guys, and I feel bad for it because it kind of sets a bad tone. Like we don't care about our smaller studios. So those are a lot of times those are the ones that make gems that you know end up becoming huge studios because of these little sleeper hits.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But I mean, even some of the big studios are like, okay, if I make a big hit game, am I still going to be around afterwards? If it's, just because it didn't make the hugest amount of money. I don't
Yeah.
know. And you can't expect a game that's like Hi-Fi Rush originally was just on Game Pass, just on Xbox. I don't know about you, but I subscribe to Game Pass. I'm not going to buy a game that's on Game Pass. So if you're looking to make sales that way, it's not going to make those kind of numbers. It's going to show lots of Game Pass subscriptions because of a good game and keep people subscribed. But you're not expecting to go, you didn't sell enough copies of this game. And I thought that was the reason they went, oh, you know what? We can keep making money off of this game by moving it to PlayStation and that kind of thing. Okay, you've moved it over and now you're canceling the studio.
Yeah, yeah, that is really odd. To
Yeah.
because that was one of the ones, like you said, that they were touting as they're going to be sharing with the other consoles and stuff, and as soon as they do, they kill it. It's like, what? That doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
again, I'm assuming that was like a very corporate move. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I imagine so. But I mean, there've
but
been a lot of talk online and everything of people, they're blaming Phil Spencer and all that. Somehow, I don't think he had much to do with it. They probably overruled him entirely. I could be wrong there too, but I mean, people are like, "Oh, we should get rid of Phil Spencer now," because really, who are you going to get that's going to be better? You got to look at the next alternative to that. You get another who was Don Matrick. We don't want that.
Well, I mean, hey, if they're looking for someone to replace Phil Spencer, I mean, hey, I'm right here. I'm a lot cheaper.
Yeah, a lot, I'm sure.
but but yeah,
They get both
from
of us for the price of the one.
but from one Xbox story to another, one of the other things that's been going on with Xbox is recently they have introduced Copilot AI into Xbox, and the first game that they're trying that with is Minecraft. And so, if you're not familiar with Xboxes, or I'm sorry, not Xboxes, if you're not familiar with Microsoft's version of AI, it's not Chat GPT or whatever. It's Copilot. So Copilot, it's basically you can interact with it and ask it questions that give you responses, and they'll usually tailor the responses to whatever it is that you're doing. So for me, I also use Copilot at my day job, and with that it does it for the company I work for. So if I ask it a company related question, it'll give me a company related answer. So with Copilot in Minecraft, it's specifically formulated to give you Minecraft related answers. So the demo that they've shown with it is people asking, how do I create this? How do I create that? And it tells you the recipe for it, like the how to make a specific sword or whatever, and it tells you the wood you need, the metal you need, all that stuff, the little shape of it and everything. And I think also it can run in game, so if you're near a certain thing, it'll remind you. It'll be like, oh, by the way, you need this one type of uh, ebony or diamond or whatever, and that's in such and such woods which you're nearby.
Hmm.
So to be like, oh yeah, that's right, and you can go and get those materials and craft the sword or armor or whatever it is that you're trying to get. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Right? It's gonna make it a lot easier to achievement hunt.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, I can
But
see.
it kind of feels like cheating.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I was thinking. I mean, it kind of feels like the equivalent of like an aimbot in shooting games, but I can kind of see the value to it. Like if you're playing certain games, right, and they want you to do collectibles, right? Um, a lot of the times, you want that to feel natural and like,
Right,
oh, I found this one thing that's a collectible. Awesome. So that feels awkward, especially if you use it to answer puzzles in some of the like puzzle related games. Like,
right.
oh, I can't figure out how to, you know, beat this one puzzle or like how to escape this one room or whatever the case may be. And it tells you, oh, it's right here, you know. But at the same time, if it's used to help um, things that you would have missed, that's a different story. Like an example is just going to take the example of, let's say, Bioshock, right? And you're collecting all the tapes, but there's three that you have no idea where you missed them. That has happened, like where you miss tapes or you miss like flags in Assassin's Creed or whatever the case of feathers, whatever. Going kind of
Then you
old
just go to
school
one of
there.
Macca's guides and you find out where it is.
Well, see, that's just the thing. Shout out to Maca.
Right?
That's that's just the thing though. It's like, yeah, with that thing with Maca's guides, yes, you have to go through like an hour or two worth of video to see every single one. But if you could ask Copilot, hey, which one of the can you pinpoint which remaining flags or feathers or whatever that I'm missing or audio tapes, whatever, can you tell me which ones are remaining that I'm missing and just pinpoint them on the map? That's not that bad. Like if you're using it to like clean up, because a
Yeah.
lot of the times, like I remember it's gonna give me some
That'll hurt the
PTSD.
Ubisoft sales in like Assassin's Creed where you would, hey, for $2 you can buy the map that will show you where all the feathers are. It was always in
Oh,
their
true.
DLC.
Yeah, I forgot
Oh,
about
you're
that.
hurting our earnings.
but there's a lot of games still though. There's people there that don't want to spend the money for the map and
No.
everything. So, but the other thing is, I'm gonna have some PTSD with this one. But the Batman Arkham games and the Riddler trophies.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god!
Some of those puzzles were challenging.
Yeah,
Really challenging. Some of them were easy, some of them were
I
not.
would I would gladly welcome Copilot to
Yeah.
to help me with some of those. To be like, where is this Riddler trophy? It's like I see it on the map. I watch the Maca guide, and I still, it's just not here. So I mean, that would be pretty helpful for it to be like, oh yeah, you have to blow out this wall and shimmy up this one corner, and that's where it actually is.
Right.
Um,
But that was kind of some of the fun of those games was okay, when you finally found it, finally got it, you're like, ah, oh, yes. And like you said, you've been through all the Maca guides and all these things trying to, where is this?
no, there's a certain level of grinding that I just don't want to do.
Not
So
anymore. Used to be,
yeah,
I enjoyed that somewhat, but not anymore.
yeah, just it's just because there's so many games out there. It's like, do I really want to spend an hour or two, chasing down these last, you know, Riddler trophies or whatever the case may be, or do I want
Right.
to play something else finally? You know, but
But that, and they make games, the majority of games that come out, they want to make them so they're so long and such big games and this and that. Remember, you used to beat a game in, 6 to 8 hours, and that was great. Then you could move on to the next game because there was always a next game you could play, another 6 to 8 hours. And you could take your time and break that up, into a few days. And okay, now I could play another game.
yeah, and honestly, I don't even mind some of the larger games, but then you get into the massive sized games. Like what I mean by that is there's some games where like the estimated completion is like 40 to 60 hours. And I'm thinking of like Spider-Man and Batman, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But then
even
you have
that's not
other,
that bad.
Yeah, but then
We're
you
just
have
talking
other
300 to 400 hours to complete a game.
yeah,
Oh my god.
like with Destiny, that's one of those supermassive games where, the estimated completion time is over 300 hours. No. Like
Yeah.
those are ones that I have to pull away from. And
And you
like
want to
your
talk about grindy? That is the
yeah,
grindiest game I've ever played. And I was really into it for a while, but
and like your beloved Fallout 76, which again the estimated completed time is like 2 or 300 hours. I can't. I just don't have that much time.
those are also if you're like doing everything in the game.
Yeah.
Games like Fallout 76 are never really meant to end because that's when you're big MMOs online. That's just you can go back there and do something anytime. One of the new game releases on Game Pass is Hellblade 2. Um, Mike, I doubt you've played the first one yet, like I asked you to, but I highly recommend it. But this is kind of rolls into what we were just talking about with the shorter games. 5 to 6 hours, you can complete this game. It's not a long game. It doesn't have a like a huge open world. It's mostly story driven and kind of on the rails where you're following a determined path. The combat and all that's very similar to the first game. Actually, I can't tell much difference at all from the first game. It looks better than the first game. The first game looked amazing. This one looks even better. I mean, the motion capture and all that they did. I mean, it's got high realism. So as far as a beautiful game, it's really there. And it's got more colors and that kind of thing to it as well. The environments are a little bit better. I've only played maybe 2 hours of it so far, so I'm not all the way through it yet. But I've been pretty impressed with it. I've really, it's an enjoyable game, and like I said, it's a short experience, which we need more of those short story driven. I don't need to be wandering a world that's so massive for hours, never finding much of anything, and having a minimal story. They recommend that you play it with headphones. Definitely play it
Okay.
with headphones because
Okay.
it's wild listening to the voices kind of all around your head when they're talking to you. And it's just the sound design is really well done.
One of the other things is with PlayStation, they've been hinting a lot about having a PlayStation showcase in June, and they're kind of making it out to be a big deal. Now, they haven't set a date yet, which is odd because June's right around the corner, but there's a lot of like talk behind closed doors that's kind of just like seeping out about the upcoming showcase in June being a big one. And for me personally, I am so hoping that they're going to announce like a big deal. And since we have talked about next gen stuff, and Ray, you've repeatedly shot down the ideas that I've had about like, you know, the next gen consoles, because yes, it only has been a few years. Um, but I wouldn't rule out a mid gen refresh. Like, well, they already have done the PlayStation 5 Slim and stuff like that. But um, one of the things that I'm thinking a lot now is that they might do, you know, handheld consoles. So I'm wondering if that might be the next step, because for Nintendo, for example, they are way overdue to have the next Nintendo Switch or something like that, which I think they're going to call it the Switch 2, or at least I think that's the placeholder name for it. And when you think about it, Nintendo Switch came out in the era of PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
So it's been out for a hot minute. And,
And they've done
you
like a
know,
refresh version of that too, where they've got the light version, and they've got I don't know, they've got a couple
an
of different versions of it at this
an
point.
OLED one where the
Yeah,
screen's just ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, they're definitely due for a refresh. And honestly, I'm loving the handheld console. And I was actually watching a video the other day where they talk about the legacy of Nintendo, where it's literally been, you know, success, failure, success, failure. And it's like, yeah, Nintendo Switch, success. Right before it, Wii U, failure. Right before it, Wii, huge success. So
Right.
like just keep going back. It's success, fail, success, fail. So I'm kind of
They need to hurry
scared.
up and get the failure out so they can get the next success going.
I'm kind of scared that they're going to make the Nintendo Switch 2 and it's going to be a massive turd.
It's going to be the Nintendo Switch U.
Oh God, no. But yeah, I am hoping that they will keep up this momentum of the Nintendo Switch and just build on it and make something even better. Because they knocked it out of the park with the Nintendo Switch, and then before that with the Wii, they knocked it out of the park with that. So I'm hoping that they'll continue that forward momentum and not make something stupid. Um, but yeah, for PlayStation, I would love for them to make, and there has been a lot of talk. Again, it's all in the rumor mill right now, but there has been a lot of talk about like the PS Vita 2 or the PSP 2, whatever name they want to give it. And honestly, I really hope they do that, and I hope that they take the failures of the PS Vita and the PSP and their failed attempt at their own personal optical devices, um, and instead they go with, I would say they should just go all digital, just have a huge storage capacity on it, and then just go all digital, and um, you know have it so where it can play. And I think we've mentioned this before. If you can do cross play between your PS5 and like let's just for argument's sake call it the PS Vita 2, where if you buy it on one, it is also, you can download it again on the other. So
Right.
let's say you buy Spider-Man 2 on the PS5, you can go into your PlayStation store and download it on your PS Vita 2, and even with the save, because since the saves are in
Yeah,
the
it should all
cloud.
just be linked to your account.
Exactly. Exactly. And, so you buy the game once, you play it wherever you are. But the cynical side of me is thinking this is a big corporation. They're going to want to make as much money as possible. So they're going to make you buy it, for every different type of thing. But I would love to see it where you buy the game, you can play it wherever. And, in the past, Sony's been good about that. Like with their little snarky YouTube video about like how to game share where you just hand it to the other person,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I would like to think, I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt and think that if you buy a game with them, you can play it wherever that you have their services. I would love that. And considering how much easier it is to play in 1080p nowadays, um, I wouldn't expect a handheld console to be 4K, but at least 1080p. And I mean, if it only did 1080p and um, could do it at the like 60 frames per second or something, I think that would be really good for a game. I don't want them to make the mistake of how they have, how there's the streaming services where you can only play games as you stream them. Like I would
Right.
want to download it to the handheld device and play it locally, because there's a lot of times where you might be out wherever and not have internet service, and
Right.
I'd still want to be able to play those games, or have really crappy internet service, and I wouldn't want to play it in something that looked like I was playing it with the quality of a VHS tape, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Um,
Well, there of course is rumors of from Xbox as well as working on a handheld. I mean, even Phil Spencer's kind of mentioned it here and there how he'd love to have a handheld device for Xbox.
yeah,
And
I
and they're
completely
both looking at
support
how
that.
well it's worked for Nintendo, and so why wouldn't they consider it? What I don't want to see is them go, let's just take a Series S and put all that into a handheld device, and here's your new handheld device. I want them to make a next gen handheld device that's more powerful than what we're working with now. So it's not. I want something new. I don't want something that's. Let's just put this into here. It'll work for now, and so we can crank these out. I don't think you're going to
Honestly,
sell them doing that.
honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. I think
I
they
don't think so either, but that you just never know.
I don't think they're gonna go into the next gen with the handheld console. I think that they're gonna
I
play
don't think they'll
catch up.
make just that. I think they'll have both. You have your big Series X type console that sits at home, and you'll have the possibility of they might do away with the whole Series S thing, and that would be their portable device.
Yeah. Or,
They don't need both.
like I've joked before, they could call it the Series M for, mobile.
Yeah,
And yeah, they could just have a third little system, and it wouldn't be next gen, it would be the current gen. And again, hopefully it would have that same format where if you buy it, it shows up in your Microsoft or your Xbox library. Play it, whether you have a Series S or a Series X or a
well, you know
Series
it'll
M.
be a
You just
Game Pass machine. So if you've got Game
or
Pass, all those games are going to be available on there. But again,
well,
like you were saying, I want to be able to download them, and Microsoft already has those. The extended memory cards that they have for the Series S and X. I mean, I have one in mine that has a whole terabyte. So you could actually have it where it takes those cards, comes with one of the cards. That way you could swap it out and take
mhm.
your games with you, and you could have multiple cards with games downloaded on them. They just need to make the cards a little cheaper in order for people to buy, like, hey, let me buy like 3 or 4 cards, download all my games onto here, and I can just swap them out as I need.
I mean, honestly, as long as they have a decent amount of storage, I would say like a terabyte or yeah, just 1 terabyte. I would say that'd be enough. Just
Yeah.
enough to have like at least 3 or 4 games on there, because I know that the sizes of games are skyrocketing. But if you
Oh
can
yeah.
have at least 2, 3, 4 games on there, because when you're taking it out and about in the world and you might not have internet, yeah, I would say having 2 or 3 games, already installed on there so you could play without internet. I think that would be the best, because there have been so many times where like I've been at like waiting an hour in a doctor's office or something like that. And, yeah, what am I doing? I'm playing a game on my phone. And
Yep.
I feel like that's the market that they want to target. They want to get people off their phones and onto their consoles, whether it be Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times I've seen people, instead of playing a game on their phone, playing a game on a Nintendo Switch that they just throw in their backpack, and I'm so jealous of that. I'm like,
Right.
man,
Right.
I wish I brought my Nintendo Switch so I could play something. And yeah, because honestly, most mobile games, not to throw shade at the mobile games industry, but most mobile games are kind of crap. They're very simple.
Yeah.
You don't usually find too many like high def, like high resolution, high refresh rate, like action games. Usually it's all like indie type games. But yeah, I would love for there to be more mobile stuff. And I would love for that to be what they're going to talk about at the PlayStation showcase, but who
It,
knows?
it's very possible because I know also in June 9th is the Xbox's showcase, and then they've got their di- redacted direct afterwards, which everybody now knows is going to be Black Ops 6. So they're going to
Hmm.
have that talk right after their showcase, and people are hoping that they'll see something to do with the new hardware that they've touted that will be the most huge leap in technology ever since consoles have been out. We'll see. And a mobile device could be part of that announcement. I'm hoping so. Who knows?
Hmm.
And if that is the case, and maybe that's why PlayStation hasn't announced when theirs is going to come out in June, because they want to see what Xbox puts out so they know how much information they want to put out. Because if Xbox hits the ground running with new consoles, they'll be out in a year or 2 years or whatever it is. Yeah, PlayStation's going to have to kind of match force with that. Otherwise, you know,
And honestly, I was just thinking that as you were talking, I was like, I bet that's why they haven't, put a release date yet, because if it's something they already have planned, they might
Mhm.
just do that like right after Xbox has their conference, and they do theirs right after. But if it's something that they need to like talk about and figure out and like reshuffle their deck kind of, then they might need some more time.
Yep.
But yeah, that's probably exactly what's going to go on. That they're probably going to wait for what Microsoft's going to talk about before they figure out strategically what they want to talk about.
Of
They
course,
probably don't
especially
want to
if they can
show
find
all
a
their.
way to embarrass Xbox in the process because they like that.
I mean, hey, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's being
That's just
competitive.
competition. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did also finish another Game Pass game that came out called Harrold Halibut. It's a very weird game. I was like, it's just a small little game. Let me try this out. And I ended up playing it all the way to the end. But it's basically you're on a spaceship that left Earth because Earth was, dying, and it crashed on this water planet. And you're like a maintenance guy. The planet's been, or they've been on the planet for quite a few years, and it's the animation in it's kind of weird. It's almost like the old claymation paper mache stop action cartoon things that they used to watch when we were kids. It looks kind of like that.
Celebrity death
And
match.
yeah, it's interesting, but it's a weird game. But it's still kind of fun, and it's not incredibly difficult. If you need something that's just very relaxing and kind of mind numbing, it's right up your alley then. About the only other thing I've been playing other than Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, I finally got into playing the DLC because I'm like, I bought this a while ago. I got to finish this up. I've almost completed it. I'm at the very end of it. I'm like, but it's been really, really good. Cyberpunk's come a long ways. It still has some glitches in there. It still has things where, like, I got killed during one segment, and there's like an energy wall in the pathway there that wasn't there when you first played through, got shot and killed. But when I reloaded the level and went back to go through it, there's a energy wall there I can't go through. So I had to go back to a previous save and start from there in order to get that wall not to generate for some reason. Just little annoying glitches like that. They're like, why is this a problem?
Also, before we end our video, I did want to mention something that we haven't talked about at all, and that is, dude, rest in peace, Rooster Teeth. Um,
Yeah.
one of the things that's happened that, like I said, we haven't talked about is Rooster Teeth closed its doors. First, they started closing some of their side projects, like I forget what it's called, Up All Night, right? Or no, Open Late with Barbara Dunkelman. But
Yeah, I don't remember the names of them now.
yeah,
I kind of stopped listening myself a little while back because they changed out the crew that was on there. I started out with the original guys when they
yeah,
first, the early Red versus Blue and all that kind of stuff. That Bernie and uh, Jeff and all those guys, the originals, and actually Barbara and Gavin were added in there. Not too long after,
yeah.
but I don't know. A lot of the newer people that they added on, it wasn't as entertaining for some reason. Something changed in their format and the way they were. I didn't listen as much anymore to their podcast and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was a noticeable shift in like the tone
Mm-hmm.
of the show. Like before, like with Gavin and Jeff and Barbara and all the original people, it was more like a relaxed setting, like almost like they were drunk. And I think they were drinking
I think
some
they
a lot of the
probably
time.
were, which is
And it just felt like very conversational and everything. And then it turned into something, I don't know, like when I was watching the last couple episodes, I didn't recognize anybody aside from I think Gus.
right.
And um it was so awkward because it felt so scripted and so forced and so structured. It was so awkward. It's like they were afraid to actually talk and have genuine responses and things. And the thing is, Rooster Teeth is actually the inspiration that Ray and I had for our little show. And even though we're not sitting in a studio, having some drinks and joking about stuff, um,
Not yet.
Not
Maybe
yet.
one day.
Maybe if we're like making huge amounts of money, then sure we'll rent out a studio and have a good time and joke around and stuff. But yeah, not now.
Not yet.
It was always such a good time, whether it was watching their videos or listening to their podcasts, and yeah, definitely gonna miss that. And they also had so many good like side series. Like they had an anime called Ruby. They
Oh yeah.
had one of my favorite skits on YouTube, which is still out there. It's just they're not making any more of it, and it's called $1 Million Butt.
Oh yeah.
And
That was
uh,
good too.
yeah, yeah. So the premise behind that is you would get $1 million, but you would have this like really awkward situation where it'd be like, you know, you would you would get $1 million, but and regardless of whether you were a man or a woman, it'd be like $1 million, but your nipples are constantly lactating, you know? So it's like, that's really awkward. Do I really want the $1 million that bad? Stuff like that. I remember one of the funniest ones that I saw was $1 million, but you can hear all your food. And it's like, it was like a horror show. Like your food would be like, no, please don't eat me. And
It's
whether
screaming as you bite into it.
yeah,
Yay.
whether
This
it's
is
like a
great.
piece of pizza, it's like screaming in pain. um, but yeah, also, Rooster Teeth did a lot of walkthroughs and stuff like that. I think that was mainly Jeff that started out.
Well, yeah, they had the achievement hunters, and
Yeah,
they did a lot of that kind of stuff. They were great fun to watch.
that's one of the things that I'm gonna try to do. Behind the scenes, I'm gonna try to like reach out on like Twitter or something and see if I can, you know, talk to Jeff or Gus or Gavin or Barbara and see if I could get them to talk with us. And
That'd be cool.
yeah. But anyways, that's it for this show. Um, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Check out the description for links to our website and socials where you can see everything we're doing, the game reviews, the releases, all that good stuff.
Come back and watch us whenever we put up a new one. Subscribe. We need all the subscribers we can get, all the followers, and please leave us comments. Anything you might want us to talk about, or you know, ideas for the show. Thanks for watching.
All right. Peace.